Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of Orbital Defense Station Alpha, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing thousands of unknown vessels approaching the solar system. The Helios array had detected them 3 weeks ago, but Earth's response had been carefully measured. To the casual observer, humanity appeared to be scrambling to mount any kind of defense. "Status report on Operation Looking Glass," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, head of Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative, stepped forward. "The veil is holding, Admiral. Our entire defensive grid appears primitive and scattered to their sensors. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see." The truth was far different. In the decades following the discovery of quantum entanglement manipulation, humanity had quietly built a military force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Nexus-class battleships waited in dimensional pocket space, invisible to conventional sensors. The quantum shield grid encompassed the entire solar system, capable of redirecting energy attacks through subspace. But none of that appeared on any scan the approaching fleet could perform. "Latest intelligence from the Phantom drones?" Chen asked, watching as another wave of seemingly primitive satellites launched from Earth, adding to the charade. Lieutenant Commander James Wong, head of reconnaissance, brought up a detailed hologram of the alien fleet. The Arcturus Collective, as they call themselves, believes they found an easy target. Their communications indicate they're planning to uplift humanity through forced integration into their empire. Standard colonization procedure for them. Chen allowed herself a small smile. How disappointingly predictable. They see our apparent technological level and assume we're defenseless. Status of the civilian evacuation protocols. Completed 2 days ago, Wong confirmed. All major population centers have their quantum shelters ready. The public story about solar flare activity has kept panic to a minimum. The alien fleet was now close enough that their individual ships were visible to Earth's primitive tracking systems. Their formation spoke of absolute confidence. No attempt at defensive positioning. No scout ships checking for threats. They expected no resistance. Message from the Arcturus flagship, announced Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka. They're demanding our immediate surrender and integration into their collective. Standard ultimatum. Submit or be conquered. Chen nodded to Tanaka. Send them our prepared response. Full subservience, fear, confusion. The works. Let's give them exactly what they expect from a primitive species. As the message was transmitted, Dr. Rodriguez approached with a tablet showing real-time quantum field calculations. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their shield technology. It's impressive by conventional standards, but completely vulnerable to our phase shift weapons. They have no concept of quantum field manipulation. Their ignorance is understandable," Chen replied, watching the alien fleet begin their standard invasion pattern. When you believe you're the most advanced civilization in your sphere of influence, you stop looking for threats beyond your understanding. The Arcturus ships were now moving into low Earth orbit, their weapons charging for what they assumed would be a brief display of force against primitive defenses. They had no idea they were flying into the most sophisticated trap ever constructed. "All stations, initiate silent thunder protocols," Chen commanded. Throughout the solar system, quantum generators hummed to life, their energy invisible to conventional sensors. The trap was set. Let them fire the first shot. Let them commit fully to their mistake. In the space around Earth, the Arcturus fleet prepared to demonstrate their superiority over what they believed to be another primitive species ripe for conquest. They had no way of knowing that humanity had long since surpassed their level of technology, choosing to hide their advancement until it was truly needed. "Incoming transmission from their flagship," Tanaka reported. "Their supreme commander wants to personally accept our surrender." Chen straightened her uniform, her expression neutral but her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Put them through. Let's play our part one last time before we show them humanity's true face." A holographic display flickered to life, revealing the alien commander, a tall crystalline being with multiple faceted eyes. Their voice translated through the quantum processors with perfect clarity. People of Earth, your submission is noted. Your species will be uplifted according to Arcturus protocols. Resistance is neither expected nor advised. Admiral Chen allowed fear to color her voice, playing her role perfectly. We understand. Supreme Commander, we only ask for mercy in this transition. The alien's crystalline features shifted in what might have been amusement. Mercy is standard procedure for compliant species. Prepare for the arrival of our integration teams. As the transmission ended, Chen's facade dropped away, replaced by the sharp focus of a commander about to spring a trap centuries in the making. All stations, prepare for Phase 1. Let's show our visitors why humanity chose to hide its strength, not out of fear, but because we understood a truth they never grasped. True power lies in being underestimated. The Arcturus fleet had no idea they were about to learn this lesson the hard way, and humanity was ready to deliver that education with devastating clarity. The Arcturus integration ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their massive hulls reflecting sunlight as they positioned themselves above major cities. In orbital command, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with calculated patience. Each alien vessel was precisely where humanity wanted them to be. Integration ships have reached optimal position, Lieutenant Commander Wang reported. They're deploying their containment fields. The alien ships had created massive energy domes over each city intended to prevent escape and facilitate the controlled collection of human subjects. They didn't realize they were actually positioning themselves within Earth's quantum focal points. Interesting design, Dr. Rodriguez mused, studying the alien technology. Their containment fields would be impressive against conventional resistance, almost elegant in an outdated way. Admiral Chen nodded to Communications Officer Tanaka. Send the activation signal to all quantum shelters. It's time to show our visitors the difference between elegance and innovation. Throughout the cities beneath the alien ships, quantum shelters activated. To the Arcturus sensors, it appeared as though millions of humans simply vanished. Their containment fields hadn't failed. Humanity had simply shifted slightly out of phase with normal spacetime, rendering the alien technology meaningless. The crystalline Supreme Commander's transmission was immediate, their faceted eyes showing the first signs of confusion. What deception is this? Where are your people? Chen smiled, finally dropping the facade of submission. Safe, beyond your reach, though I suspect that's not your only concern at the moment. On cue, the quantum pocket dimensions throughout the solar system began to open. Humanity's true fleet emerged from subspace, surrounding the Arcturus ships in a display of technological prowess that defied their understanding. The Nexus-class battleships were works of art, sleek vessels of impossible geometries, their quantum-forged hulls shifting between states of matter. Leading them was the TNS Prometheus, humanity's flagship, its very existence a contradiction to everything the Arcturus Collective believed about technological progression. By the first light, the Supreme Commander whispered, their crystalline form trembling. What are you? We are humanity, Chen replied, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of preparation. And we have been waiting for this moment, not out of fear, but because we needed to understand. The tactical display showed the Arcturus fleet attempting to raise their shields and charge weapons. Dr. Rodriguez actually chuckled at their efforts. Their technology can't even detect our quantum field manipulations, let alone defend against them. Supreme Commander, Chen addressed the increasingly agitated alien leader. Your weapons and shields operate on principles we mastered centuries ago. While you were perfecting ways to conquer less advanced civilizations, we were exploring realities you haven't even theorized yet. As if to demonstrate, the Prometheus activated its quantum field generators. Space itself seemed to ripple around the massive ship, and suddenly every weapon system in the Arcturus fleet powered down, not through destruction or interference, but through a fundamental alteration of the quantum states that allowed them to function. Impossible. The Supreme Commander breathed. Our weapons, they're not damage. They simply never were. Quantum probability manipulation, Dr. Rodriguez explained, unable to hide his professional enthusiasm. We didn't disable your weapons. We shifted you into a quantum reality where they were never installed. Don't worry, we can restore them. Once we're certain you understand your situation. The Arcturus ships hung motionless in space, their mighty fleet rendered impotent not through violence, but through science so advanced it appeared magical. Several of their ships attempted to flee, only to find their engines responding to laws of physics that no longer apply to them. We have no desire for conquest, Chen continued, her tone softening slightly. Humanity developed these technologies not to dominate, but to protect. To ensure that when we finally met other civilizations, we could choose the nature of that meeting. The Supreme Commander's crystalline features had lost their imperious confidence, replaced by something approaching awe. All this time, you let us believe you were primitive. Why? With this power, you could rule the galaxy. Because ruling through fear and power teaches nothing, Chen replied. We needed to understand who you truly were, how you would treat those you believed weaker than yourselves. It revealed far more than any diplomatic exchange ever could. Across Earth's cities, the quantum shelters began deactivating, returning millions of humans to normal spacetime. The Arcturus sensors registered the population's return with the same confusion as their disappearance. You have a choice now, Chen declared. The Arcturus collective can retreat, taking with you the knowledge that the galaxy is larger and more mysterious than you imagined. Or you can stay, not as conquerors, but as equals willing to learn and share knowledge. The Supreme Commander was silent for a long moment, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that suggested deep internal conflict. Finally, they spoke, their tone transformed from commanding to questioning. You could have destroyed us at any moment. Instead, you chose to teach us a lesson in humility. Perhaps the collective has much to learn from humanity. Admiral Chen allowed herself a genuine smile. Supreme Commander, you've just demonstrated why humanity chose patience over power, understanding over domination, your capacity to learn, to adapt your viewpoint when presented with new information. That is what we were hoping to find. Around Earth, the Nexus-class battleships powered down their quantum field generators, though they remained ready to reactivate at a moment's notice. The Arcturus fleet hung in space, their weapons and shields still technically non-existent in their current quantum state. Shall we begin actual diplomatic discussions? Chen offered. There's so much we could learn from each other, now that we can meet as equals. The Supreme Commander's response would determine not just the immediate future, but potentially the course of galactic civilization itself. Humanity had revealed its hand not to dominate, but to elevate, to show that true power lies not in the ability to conquer, but in the wisdom to know when not to. The following hours aboard Orbital Defense Station Alpha were filled with tense diplomatic exchanges. The Supreme Commander of the Arcturus Collective, who finally introduced themselves as Crystal Artvex Thor, had chosen the path of dialogue. However, not all members of the collective shared their leader's newfound humility. Admiral Chen watched as emergency transmissions flooded in from the outer reaches of the solar system. Multiple quantum anomalies detected, Lieutenant Commander Wang announced, his hands flying over the holographic controls. Long-range sensors indicate Arcturus reinforcements, but something's wrong with their signatures. Dr. Rodriguez rushed to his station, his eyes widening at the data. These readings, they're attempting to replicate our quantum technology, but without proper understanding. They're creating dangerous instabilities in space-time. Crystal Artvex Thor's faceted eyes pulsed with alarm. Impossible. I ordered no reinforcements. Their crystalline form vibrated with concern. These must be the Symmetry faction, extremists within our collective who believe technological superiority equals biological destiny. The tactical display showed hundreds of Arcturus warships emerging from crude attempts at quantum tunneling. Their hulls glowed with unstable energy, threatening to tear reality itself apart. They're not just copying our technology, Dr. Rodriguez warned. They're perverting it. These signatures suggest they've somehow obtained fragments of our quantum research and merged it with their crystalline tech without understanding the consequences. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. Quantum signatures of the approaching fleet. Chaotic and deteriorating, Wang reported. They've created something that shouldn't exist, a hybrid technology that's threatening to collapse local spacetime. Crystal-arced Vexthor stepped forward, their crystalline body refracting light in patterns of distress. Admiral Chen, on behalf of the true Arcturus Collective, I offer our complete cooperation. The Symmetry faction must be stopped before their reckless actions doom us all. Chen nodded sharply. Dr. Rodriguez, can we extend our quantum stabilization field to protect the main Arcturus fleet? Yes, but it will require precise coordination. Their ships will need to synchronize their crystalline resonance frequencies with our quantum field generators. Do it, Chen commanded. Commander Wang, begin emergency evacuation protocols for all outer system installations. Officer Tanaka, alert the Nexus fleet to prepare for quantum combat protocols. The space around Earth transformed into a scene of organized chaos. The TNS Prometheus led the Nexus fleet into defensive positions while Arcturus ships, now allies, integrated themselves into the human formation. Dr. Rodriguez worked frantically with collective engineers to harmonize their technologies. The Symmetry faction fleet approached, their ships writhing with uncontrolled quantum energies. Their transmission cut through all frequencies, distorted by their unstable technology. We will not bow to primitive species. The voice was painful to hear, warped by quantum interference. The collective must evolve or perish. They're powering weapons, Wang reported, but the quantum instabilities are spreading. Their ships are literally tearing holes in spacetime. Admiral Chen shared a look with crystal-arced Vexthor. We can't let them reach Earth. The quantum devastation would be catastrophic. Their arrogance will destroy everything, Vexthor agreed. Our crystalline technology was never meant to be forced into quantum states like this. Chen activated the fleet-wide command channel. All ships, implement Operation Quantum Shield. Prometheus will take point. Arcturus vessels, maintain your positions within our stabilization field. We're going to show the Symmetry faction what true mastery of quantum mechanics looks like. The TNS Prometheus moved forward, its quantum field generators creating a cascade of reality-stabilizing waves. Behind it, human and Arcturus ships moved in perfect formation, their combined technologies creating something entirely new, a harmony of crystalline resonance and quantum manipulation. Enemy fleet entering weapons range, Wang announced. Their quantum signatures are becoming more erratic, multiple space-time fractures detected. Now we show them the difference between stealing technology and understanding it, Chen declared. Dr. Rodriguez, initiate the quantum cascade. The Prometheus's quantum field expanded, not to attack, but to stabilize. The ship's advanced systems reached out to the very fabric of spacetime, smoothing the distortions created by the Symmetry faction's crude attempts at quantum manipulation. Their weapons are firing, Wang reported, but his voice held no fear. The hybrid attacks, a twisted mixture of crystalline energy and quantum particles, splashed harmlessly against the combined human Arcturus defense screen. Return fire, Chen ordered. Quantum crystalline resonance, full spectrum. The combined fleet released a devastating counterattack. The Prometheus led with a precise quantum pulse that transformed the space around the enemy ships, while Arcturus vessels added their crystalline energy to the matrix. The result was beautiful and terrifying, a perfect fusion of both civilizations' technologies. The Symmetry faction's ships began to fail, their unstable quantum systems unable to cope with the ordered chaos unleashed against them. One by one, their weapons went silent, their engines died, and their dangerous experiments with stolen technology collapsed in on themselves. Enemy fleet is standing down, Wang reported. Quantum signatures are stabilizing. It seems their systems are automatically reverting to standard Arcturus configurations. Crystal-arc Vex-Thor's form pulsed with something like pride. Together, we achieved what neither of us could have done alone. Perhaps this was always meant to be, not a conquest, but convergence. Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. Today we learned that true advancement comes not from stealing or copying technology, but from understanding and cooperation. The Symmetry faction sought to pervert our quantum science without comprehending its principles. Instead, they taught us all the value of working together. As the combined fleet moved to secure the defeated Symmetry faction ships, Chen turned to Vex-Thor. I believe this marks the beginning of a new era for both our peoples. There's clearly much we can learn from each other. The crystalline leader's response resonated with newfound wisdom. Indeed, Admiral. Today we witnessed not just the power of advanced technology, but the greater power of combining our knowledge and strengths. The Arcturus Collective has much to reconsider about its place in the galaxy. The stars seem to shine brighter as human and Arcturus ships work together to restore stability to local spacetime, their differences forgotten in the face of shared purpose and achievement. In the aftermath of the Symmetry faction's defeat, the combined human Arcturus fleet had begun the delicate process of stabilizing the damaged regions of spacetime. But during the analysis of the quantum distortions, Dr. Rodriguez made a discovery that chilled him to his core. Admiral Chen, Crystal-Art Vex-Thor, he called out, his voice tense. You need to see this immediately. The human admiral and crystalline leader approached his station, where a complex quantum visualization sprawled across multiple holographic displays. Within the chaotic pattern of space-time disruptions, a clear signature emerged, one that neither human nor Arcturus technology had created. These distortions, Rodriguez explained, they're not random damage. They're forming a pattern, like ripples in space-time converging on specific coordinates. Something is coming. Vex-Thor's crystalline form vibrated at a frequency that humans had learned to recognize as deep concern. These patterns, they resemble ancient warnings in our archives, stories of what we thought were merely temporal myths. Lieutenant Commander Wang's station suddenly erupted with alerts. Multiple quantum anomalies detected, far larger than anything we've encountered. They're everywhere. Across the solar system, space itself began to tear. But unlike the crude ruptures caused by the Symmetry faction, these were precise, purposeful. Through the tears came ships of impossible geometry, their hulls seeming to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. By the first light, Vex-Thor whispered, "The temporal devourers. They were real." Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed at the tactical display. Explain. In our earliest records, there are stories of beings that consumed time itself, entities that moved between realities, destroying civilizations not through conventional warfare, but by erasing their entire temporal existence. We dismissed them as allegories, meant to warn against the dangers of temporal manipulation. Dr. Rodriguez's hands flew over his controls. The quantum signatures are like nothing we've seen. These ships aren't just moving through space, they're moving through time itself. The Symmetry faction's crude experiments must have attracted their attention. The largest of the dimensional tiers spawned a vessel that defied description, a massive construct that seemed to fold through dimensions beyond human or Arcturus comprehension. Its transmission reached them on all frequencies simultaneously, echoing through time itself. Your TMPORALMANIPULATONS AAVBEEN notated. Your reality thither EADs will be harvested. Resistancy as TMPORAL event. Admiral Chen shared a look with Crystal-Art Vex-Thor. Options. Our combined fleet's quantum crystalline technology might be able to stabilize local spacetime, Rodriguez suggested, but against beings that can literally erase us from history. Wait, Vex-Thor interrupted, their crystalline form pulsing with sudden insight. Your quantum technology, Combined with our crystalline resonance, we might be able to create a temporal anchor point, a fixed moment in time they cannot erase. Chen nodded sharply. Explain the theory. Our crystalline technology can maintain perfect resonance patterns indefinitely. If we could synchronize that with your quantum field generators at a precise temporal frequency, we could create a stable point in space-time. Rodriguez finished, catching on. A moment they cannot delete because it would be anchored across multiple quantum states simultaneously. The temporal devourers' ships began moving into attack formation, reality warping around them. Small research outposts on the outer planets simply vanished, not destroyed but retroactively removed from existence. We don't have much time, Chen declared. Or perhaps we have all time. Dr. Rodriguez, work with the Arcturus engineers. Develop this temporal anchor immediately. All ships, defensive formation Delta 7. We need to buy them time to implement this theory. The human Arcturus fleet moved as one, their recently synchronized technologies creating a protective barrier of stabilized spacetime. The temporal devourers launched their first attack, not energy weapons or physical projectiles, but waves of temporal dissolution that threatened to unwrite reality itself. Temporal anchor theory synchronized, Rodriguez announced minutes later. But we'll need enormous power, more than our combined fleets can generate. Vexthor's crystalline form brightened. The Symmetry faction ships, their unstable quantum matrices. If we could channel that energy into a controlled quantum crystalline resonance pattern, Chen finished. Risky, but we're out of options. Begin emergency power transfer protocols. All ships, prepare for temporal shield activation on my mark. The temporal devourer's massive flagship began a final approach, reality crumbling in its wake. Its transmission boomed through time itself. Your ISTNC pure surplus. Your reality YLB or EC. Now, Chen commanded. The combined fleet's quantum crystalline matrix activated, drawing power from the contained chaos of the Symmetry faction's ships. Space itself seemed to crystallize around them, as human ingenuity and Arcturus resonance patterns created something entirely new, a moment in time anchored so firmly in reality that even beings who fed on temporal energy couldn't unwrite it. The temporal devourers' attack crashed against this fixed point in spacetime, their reality-erasing weapons finding, for the first time, something they couldn't simply remove from existence. The massive ships recoiled, their impossible geometries wavering as they encountered an immovable moment in time. It's working, Rodriguez reported, his voice filled with wonder. The temporal anchor is holding. They can't erase what we've quantum-locked into the fabric of reality itself. The final battle for existence itself was about to begin, with humanity's quantum mastery and the Arcturus collective's crystalline wisdoms standing as the last defense against beings who consumed time itself. The true test of their alliance was not just beginning. It had always been destined to reach this moment, fixed now in the eternal dance of space and time. The temporal anchor point held firm as reality itself seemed to bend and twist around the combined human Arcturus fleet. The temporal devourers' ships, massive constructs of impossible geometry, pressed their attack with increasing desperation, a concept that Admiral Chen found darkly amusing, given their supposed mastery over time itself. They're attempting to generate a temporal recursion loop, Dr. Rodriguez reported, his hands dancing across the quantum control interface, trying to trap us in an endless moment of our own creation. Crystal Art Vexthor's form pulsed with intense light. They don't understand. Our anchor point isn't just a moment in time. It's a proof of possibility, a demonstration that different species, different technologies, can achieve something greater than the sum of their parts. The temporal devourer's flagship shifted its massive form, its structure folding through dimensions that human eyes couldn't properly process. Another transmission boomed through both space and time. Your resistance is an aberration. Temporal co-uniformity must be maintained. Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. They're not just trying to erase us. They're afraid of what we represent. She turned to Rodriguez. Doctor, can we expand the temporal anchor effect? With our current power levels, barely maintaining what we have. Unless... He paused, eyes widening. The quantum crystalline resonance pattern we created. It's not just protecting us from temporal erasure. It's evolving. Vexthor moved closer to the display, their crystalline form refracting the data in new patterns. The human quantum fields are interacting with our crystalline matrices in ways we never imagined. Each moment of resistance is teaching both technologies how to work together more efficiently. Your temporal mut80 uncanny heralded. The Devourers transmitted. Reality we newest follow estabilished patterns. Chen shared a knowing look with Vexthor. They're not protectors of time. They're parasites feeding on predictability. Our cooperation, our ability to adapt and create something new, it threatens their entire existence. Rodriguez's station suddenly lit up with new data. The quantum crystalline matrix is approaching critical resonance, but not in a dangerous way. It's achieving some kind of harmonic convergence. The space around the combined fleet began to shimmer with impossible colors. The Prometheus's quantum field generators synchronized perfectly with the Arcturus ship's crystalline cores, creating a cascade effect that spread through the defensive formation. The temporal anchor isn't just holding time still, Vexthor realized, their voice filled with awe. It's becoming a focal point for temporal evolution itself. Chen straightened her uniform. Decision made. All ships, divert maximum power to the quantum crystalline matrix. We're not just going to defend against their temporal attacks, we're going to show them what real evolution looks like. The human Arcturus fleet move is one. Their technologies now so perfectly synchronized that they operated as a single entity. The temporal Devourers launched another reality-erasing wave. But this time, something different happened. Incredible, Rodriguez breathed. The quantum crystalline field isn't just blocking their temporal attacks, it's transforming them, converting their attempts at erasure into pure creative potential. The space around them bloomed with new possibilities. Each attempt by the Devourers to enforce temporal conformity was caught in the quantum crystalline matrix and transformed, spawning alternate timelines and parallel moments that existed in harmony rather than conflict. Impossible, the Devourers transmitted, their signal weakening. Temporal evolution must be controlled, contained, consumed. No, Chen responded, her voice firm. Evolution cannot be controlled. Change cannot be contained. The universe exists to grow, to adapt, to become more than it was. That's what you never understood, and what humanity and the Arcturus Collective have learned together. The combined fleet's temporal anchor point expanded, not erasing the temporal Devourers but transforming them. Their ships began to shift and change, their rigid, impossible geometries flowing into new forms that existed in harmony with normal spacetime, rather than in opposition to it. Their temporal signature is changing, Rodriguez reported. The quantum crystalline field isn't destroying them. It's offering them a choice. Evolution or extinction. One by one, the temporal Devourers ships transformed, their structure shifting from tools of temporal consumption to something entirely new. The massive flagship was the last to change, its form twisting through dimensions before emerging as something that both human and Arcturus sensors could finally properly perceive. We are change, the flagship transmitted, its voice no longer booming through time but speaking simply through normal space. Your temporal innovation has shown us another way. Admiral Chen and Crystal Art Vexthor stood together on the Prometheus's command deck, watching as the former temporal Devourers integrated themselves into normal spacetime. Their ships now existed as beautiful crystalline quantum constructs, living proof that evolution was not just possible but inevitable. This was never about defeating them. Vexthor observed, their crystalline form glowing softly. It was about showing them, showing all of us, that the future belongs not to those who resist change, but to those who embrace it together. Chen nodded, a smile touching her lips. Humanity reached for the stars not to conquer them, but to understand them. The Arcturus Collective sought to uplift others, even if they initially went about it the wrong way. And now, even beings who fed on temporal stagnation have learned to evolve. A lesson for the ages, Rodriguez added, still studying the readings from the quantum crystalline matrix. Written not in time or space, but in the endless possibility of cooperation and growth. The combined fleet hung in space around Earth, no longer just human ships or Arcturus vessels or transformed temporal devourer constructs, but a symbol of what was possible when different civilizations chose to face the future together. The stars seemed to shine brighter, as if reality itself approved of this new path of unified evolution. The anchor point they had created would remain, not as a fixed moment of stagnation, but as an eternal reminder that the greatest power in the universe was not the ability to erase time, but the courage to face it together and grow into something greater than anyone could have imagined alone.